Hey guys, I want to answer a question I got in a comment on my previous video. I really do appreciate those, by the way, make it a lot easier for me to make videos. I don't have to think of the topic because you've already done it for me. So please, if you have anything you want me to make videos about, any questions you want answered, anything you want help with, leave a comment below if you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook, whichever one. I read both. Right, so in my previous video, Fenton McGee 3 asked, can you make a video or comment? I'll do a video on if you noticed a lack of structure in your initial approach to learning Spanish, or was your approach more relevant given the type of language you were learning, e.g. learning day-to-day language from telenovelas rather than learning vocabulary from themes, etc. What he's asking is, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. No, but he's asking if my study had a particular focus on a specific type of Spanish, like spoken conversational Spanish, or if I was focusing on learning vocabulary and grammar, or focusing maybe on like preparing for one of the CEFR / DELE exams or something like that. No. What happened was I didn't really know what I was doing, so I tried a bunch of different stuff, some courses, and the telenovela method, as I call it, which is just using popular media to learn a foreign language. I started out doing that fairly early on, and that was just sheer luck. I messed around with a couple courses, Pimsleur, because I was familiar with it, because I had the Pimsleur French course. My parents got that for me when I was 12. This is back in the 1990s, so this was cassette tapes, 97, 98, I think. And Pimsleur is really good for pronunciation. It's great for learning pronunciation, but it is severely overpriced. I'm just going to tell you, don't buy it. That's it. You can find it on torrent sites if you want to do that. So I did the Pimsleur Spanish course, most of it at least, and I learned some basic pronunciation from that, a little bit of syntax, and some real basic vocabulary. That's about it. It's not going to get you anywhere near, remotely near conversational fluency, but it is good for teaching pronunciation. So if you want to go download it, I'll just be honest with you, that's if you're going to use it, that's what I would do. Because they're charging like $250 per level, which is $1,000 for all 4 levels if you want the full course, which is just ridiculous. Do not do that. I did that a little bit, got a couple workbooks. The workbooks are excellent if you want to learn a bit more grammar and syntax, and you want to learn to read and write in the language. The series that I recommend is called the series of workbooks that I recommend is called Practice Makes Perfect. The Spanish verb tenses one by Dorothy Richmond is particularly good. It's excellent. It's really, really good. When you get to the point that you realize, oh, I really need to learn Spanish verb conjugations, because that's like the key to the language, really is getting these verb conjugations down pat and learning when to use which one. Get that workbook. It's really excellent. It's cheap. They want $9.64 for it right now, brand new. And you can get used ones for less than that, $6, $3, stuff like that. So I had that, and I met a guy in university. He was a friend of a friend. I met him twice. I can't even remember his name off the top of my head. I've written about him before, and it's in there. But I only met him twice, and the first time was when he started a job at, it was TGI Fridays or Ruby Tuesdays or Chili's or someplace like that, and he was working in the kitchen with a bunch of Spanish speakers, and I walked in on him. It was a dorm room, my friend's dorm room, and he was a friend of a friend, so Robert, I think his name was. I walked in on there. He was watching a Spanish telenovela and kind of taking notes on things. I asked him what he was doing, and he explained he was going to try and learn Spanish this way so he could talk to his co-workers, and he'd always wanted to learn Spanish, so he was going to try and learn them from telenovelas. I thought, okay, cool. And I remember meeting him like a year or so later, and he was conversationally fluent in Spanish. And I was like, wait, did that work? And he said, yeah. He said, yeah, it worked really well. What he would do, and this is a 2-part thing, all right? And this is still basically my method. You learn the Spanish, all right, preferably or whatever the languages you want to learn. You can do this with any language that you can get a decent amount of popular media for, which is almost all of the ones that really anyone wants to learn. You learn some language from a movie, TV show, book, song, whatever, and then you apply it. That's the second part, as soon as possible, with a native speaker, preferably, or with someone. You need to use it to communicate with another person. All right, as soon as possible, because that really cements it into your memory. And if you use it improperly, you'll get corrected immediately. They tell you whether or not you're using it correctly. Okay, so you learn the right way to use it. Right, early on, immediately. This is why I really recommend a combination of learning it from whatever your source of media is that you prefer. It doesn't matter if you pick something. There's nothing special about telenovelas. That's just the name I gave to the book. And you learn it from that, and you apply it like in a language exchange or with a tutoring in a tutoring session if you don't mind paying for it. With the native speaker. All right, apply it immediately, same day if possible. All right, as soon as you can. And that is really the two-part method of how you do this. That's really basic version of it. I've got a 200-some-odd page book I've written about exactly how to do it with all the resources I recommend. It's on Amazon. It's got like 4.8 out of 5 stars with 19 reviews right now. I'll put a link below. Please check it out. So I saw that he had done that, and it just kind of stuck in the back of my mind. So years later, when I decided to start learning Spanish, about 9 years ago, I remembered that. And I messed around with these courses a little bit. I thought, well, I'm going to try this. And it was just sheer luck. I was doing trial and error, just messing around with things. And I tried this thing that I had learned from this guy back in college when I was at Tulane. And it worked. It worked really well. I noticed, because I tried it out a bit, for a few days or a week or so. And then I got on a language exchange. I don't even remember where I heard about that. Probably from some language learning blog that I had been reading. Maybe Fluent in 3 months, if it was even around then. I'm not sure. I know that I read Benny Lewis's work early on, a lot of it, along with several other blogs. Spanish Only by Ramses, which that does not exist anymore. Shame. He had some good stuff, and there were some others as well. I don't remember. Also, the how to learn a language forums, HTLAL, how to learn any language forum, whatever it is, has a lot of good stuff on there. I'll put links to all this down below. And so I got on a language exchange. And I started using the stuff that I had learned. And this worked pretty well. And so I did it again. And I saw it was working really well. I was like, I'm starting to speak Spanish, and I hadn't really been before. Nowhere near like, I wasn't conversational at all yet, but it was a lot better than I was before. I was really shit before, and I'm less shit now. So it was a very noticeable improvement that I made. I thought, ooh, I'm going to do this. And so it was just sheer luck I stumbled upon it. I did know that I cared more about being able to speak, like, just normal conversational style to people than I did about reading and writing, but I wanted to learn reading and writing as well, hence the workbooks. So I from then on, for about the next 6 months or so, I mainly did telenovela method, as I call it, which is why I'd learn Spanish from a movie, TV show, book, whatever, and then apply it in a language exchange. And I was doing only language exchanges at that point. I wasn't paying for tutors. For those of you who don't want to pay for a tutor or can't, you can just do a language exchange. That's fine. And I recommend eTalki for both for finding people for language exchanges and for finding a tutor if you want to pay. So I did that, and within about 6 months or so, I could get onto a language exchange with a native Spanish speaker and just talk about anything for half an hour or an hour, with rarely having to look anything up. And I just thought, holy shit, I speak Spanish now. That's really cool. This works. I'm going to write about this. So I started the blog, and then after the blog, a year or so after the blog, I thought I'm going to write a book. So I wrote a book. And that was that. And I've since used the method with the German, French, and a little bit of Arabic. The reason that I speak pretty good French, slightly less good German, and almost no Arabic. And the main reason that the reason that I'm not fluent in German or French, I just started Arabic a few months ago, but the main reason I'm not fluent in German and French is that I've just kind of studied them on and off here or there. I haven't really gone hard dedicated to it. That's something else I want to mention. Those 6 months in which I learned Spanish, I was putting in 4 to 6 hours a day. working on Spanish, to learning Spanish, because I really wanted to do it. Like I said, I think I mentioned in the previous video, I really want to dispel the myth that, maybe you can get fluent in a language with half an hour or an hour a day inside of a year, let alone like 3 months or 6 months, something like that. No, you can't do that. That's such bullshit. No, yeah, I got fluent in 6 months with 4 to 6 hours a day of work, mostly with popular media, that kind of thing. And the workbooks really only helped with reading and writing. They probably did help a little bit, maybe in understanding the grammar and syntax, but they're not that important. Especially now when you can just look up anything on the internet. If there's something about the grammar or syntax you don't understand, just Google it. You don't need a book of any kind to learn that. But I think the workbooks helped probably a little bit with speaking. And what they really do is they help you read and write. So it depends on how much emphasis you place on that, whether or not you want to mess with them. But that was pretty much it. No, it was kind of random and haphazard, and I just got lucky and stumbled on something that worked really well. So I hope that answers your question. What's your name? Hang on. Fenton McGee 3, and anyone else who was wondering about that. So yeah, that's it.